Hello, if you're watching this video, you probably want to know what's the cure for cancer? Well, I will tell you how I know how to find the cure for cancer. All right. Now, you think I'd be all super excited to tell you? All right. Really, I'm not because I'm conflicted because of how all this came about. I have been praying intently the past couple weeks. Lord, there's nothing more important than love. The steadfast love of the Lord endures forever. It's the most important thing. Way more important than being a prophet, which I am. Way more important than being a teacher, which I suppose I am a little bit. Wrote a book. Still trying to clean it up, but it'll be ready soon. Great, massive revelation. Look, the cure for cancer. I want you to know something. Lots and lots of amazing things have been happening to me. Supernatural things that it boggles my mind. And no, I tell people, nobody believes me. But I had been praying, Lord, teach me about your steadfast love. This is something I desperately need to know because of the mission he's going to send me on here in April or April, May, right around Passover. If you thought taking on Z42 and the Los Zetas drug cartel and smacking them around and, a grenade blowing up in my face and the dust of the earth not moving, God sending me to rock Assyria to confront ISIS. I mean, all these things don't compare to the steadfast love of the Lord to learn in it, right? And I've been praying intently. Lord, show me your steadfast love. Teach it to me. I want to know. This is how the cure for cancer came too. And the reason I'm starting this video is because I was laying in bed thinking about this steadfast love. And I'm like, Lord, why'd you tell me this, how to get the cure for cancer? And he said, well, Mark, you asked me to teach you about my steadfast love. So, oh yeah. And I've known it for 3 days, 4 days, and, just now. It's like why he didn't, but it's because of his steadfast love. He wants to show his steadfast love, not just to me, but to the whole world. Do you understand? It's to the whole world. He taught me many things, two other things that were really, really affecting me about his steadfast love. And before I talk about cancer, all right, let me bring you in order, all right? First, just to buffer the cancer thing, I have got a piece of the puzzle for cancer, right? Over here, over here, over here, over here, over here, okay? And that wasn't enough. Not until God spoke to me audibly right into my brain about 3 days ago or something. And even then I didn't know. But what he spoke to me was the key. And the key belongs to me. And so I'm going to work on this. Let me get back into his steadfast love. All right. So everything from my coffee cup overflowing all over the table, making a big mess. Okay. To him, an angel knocking over my sign that I had wrote a sign about angels and how they have swords and, they're going to start killing people, right? No one's going to believe that. I was prophesying. The Lord told me. It was a couple weeks ago, just the holiness, the sanctification, right? All of this stuff, like God is bringing this to the world. And so, I mean, you've got pastors, I mean, they're going to fall over dead in the pulpit. And let me tell you that when that begins to happen, you should understand that that's God's judgment on them. And it's not anything else. They're in the pulpit, they fall over, die, they're going to hell. Okay? It's God's judgment. I don't care how super spiritual you think they are, they're going to hell. And an angel put them to death. Okay, so now back up. So that's a sign. Like I had a sign. Forget about it. I'm just telling you, it went against gravity. Okay, with a fan blowing on it, it pushed against the fan and fell over. Where there's no outside environment, no reason for it to happen. It was like at this angle, you know, leaning up against a couch, and the fan was blowing on it, and it went like this, bam, fell face down. Instead of, if the fan's blowing on, you think it would just go, like that. That's not what happened. Lots of things. I mean, God told me one of his names. I was worshiping, I was praying, and I was speaking in tongues, and I had this come to my head while I was speaking, and the word was Rasha la 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 ki. 3 laws. Rasha la 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 ki. And I said, Lord, what is this? And he said, well, it's one of my names. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, you know. Um, and then, he also told me something else, which if I told you, I'm not even going to tell you because he's just going to have to make it happen. And he already has, okay, but just my time hasn't come yet, but it's about to come. Well, anyways, so, I mean, think about this. Who else has God told him one of his names? I mean, you read in the Bible, they get angels come down. Why do you ask my name? Why do you want to know? He tells his name. He told his name to Moses. He told his name Isaiah, Emmanuel. And there's probably some other ones. I can't think of them off the second. But all these were really important, godly prophets, And I didn't even think about this when he said, oh, it's one of my name. All right. I didn't know until just the last couple of weeks, just really thinking about it. And I'm thinking about how many times God told someone like a secret name of his, and then I thought of Moses and, Isaiah. But so anyway, right after he said that, like a couple of days later, he said, Mark, I want you to look at gematria. I'm like, gematria. He says, yeah, Apostle John, used it with 666. I want you to take a look at it, Here, I find a website, I forget the name of it, but you type in a phrase, and it calculates the gematria. And anyways, I put the phrase in there, how I spelled it, just, okay, that looks right. Yeah, and okay, Lord, so I hit enter. All these names for Jesus start popping up. Jesus of Nazareth, King of Righteousness, the name above all names. There's a bunch of them. I've made a video about it. Adonai, your God. I mean, there's like a dozen in there, okay? And I just marveled. I was like, wow. But again, I was worshiping God, okay? Everything that's happened, it's worshiping God. It's very important to understand. I wasn't just doing nothing. My heart and my mind was focused. And in my book, okay, this is what happened the other day. In my book, in the last couple months, I tell you, if you know me, you know my life, you know how I went through Rome. How I had the vision of the Vatican, and it was destroyed, and and then I was taken up to heaven, and then after we descended down, destroyed the ungodly. So this other phrase kept coming to my mind over and over and over again. not to my mind, to my spirit. Okay? Ramiani Kesio. That's what it is. So after weeks, maybe a month, I said, you know what? I'm going to put this in the geometry. This is driving me nuts. Maybe I can, maybe it's something interesting. Very first result, Pope Francis. Now, I tell you, Pope Francis, he's the one who stands at the right hand of Mohammed bin Salman, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, after the church is taken, and he gets power. He's indwelt by Satan. And I tell you, he's like the second beast of Revelation. Okay, and then I told you, and I didn't know nothing about this guy, completely by faith, writing this in my book. I never heard of him, never heard him speak, know nothing about him, but the Holy Ghost told me this is the one. His name is Yuval Noah Harari. So I wrote it down just by faith. The Holy Ghost said so, And so I write it down. I still don't research the guy. My book's done. I still don't research the guy. Well, I don't know. A couple months later, my latest grandson's born. His name's Anthony David Ballantyne. I typed that in, Gematria. Very first result, Yuval Noah Harari. Now, the night that God showed me about Gematria, I put in Mark Douglas Ballantyne, and that's my name. And lots of interesting things came up, but he woke me up in the middle of the night, and he's like, Mark, why didn't you just put your first and last name? I'm like, but that's only this bit of my name. My name's this bit, And he's like, no, put Mark Ballantyne. So, because middle of the night, and I open it up. Very first thing, prophet. Now, when I wrote this book, The Order of Things, it announces the release of Satan on March 5th, 2003. Now, I did that by faith. This book was published. I tried to stop it 3 times, and it was published exactly 10 years to the day after I said Satan was released. The publisher picks the dates. After all my it just happened this way. It just so happened that on, the Lord, like a month before, 2 months before the book went to print, he said, Mark, I want you to send 10 copies to every state and federal penitentiary in the United States. I'm like, Lord, I ain't got no money. What are you talking about? I can't do that. Sure, Lord, if I got the money, I'll do it. All right. The day the book went on sale, I received a check for $550,000. All right. It was a settlement for I'm not going to go into it, but it was 6 years. There's no way I could have known any of this, that this settlement was coming. It all just came out, just like bam. I think from the time they called me and said, out of the blue, after like 6 years, hey, we want to sit down with you and come up with a settlement. I'm like, okay, that's what we came up with. A couple weeks later, bam, there's the check, just on the same day that got, so God paid me for, like 3 years, 12 to 16 hours a day with him, just my teacher, and writing this book. And so let's put that aside for a second. All right. Well, you know how much money I made on this book with the publisher? My commission check? $1. But God gave me $550,000 on the same day it went on sale. Mind blown. So he told me, I could really go deep on this. I'm going to try not to. It's already 14 minutes. I should. I'm not even on to cancer yet, Anyways, on November, let me back up. Let me tell you why things are so important with the Pope. Like when God sent me to ISIS in Raqqa, Syria, I tried I wanted to go through Iraq. I tried every which way to get there. And the only thing that worked was passing through Rome. And I said, Lord, how can I had this vision of what happened to the Vatican. I have to tell the prince who sits on the throne, look, ISIS is coming for you. I have to do it. And I happened to arrive there on June 21st, 2015. It was the solstice. Lights double that of darkness, you know. And hey, you want to know about that? Read the book. But anyways, very interesting. That's in the spirit language, Ramiani Casio, the very first result, Pope Francis. Now, let me back up to November 1st, 2023. I come down and I jump in the shower. And this song comes to my heart and I start singing it. I haven't sang it since I was knee high. You know, it's been 40 something years, and just this day the song comes to my mind. I start singing it. This is a day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And I'm washing myself in the shower. Although I come out the shower, I opened up the door and I come into my room and I'm like, why is it foggy in my room? What? So and I go out, I open my bedroom door and I go out into the living room and it's foggy there too. I'm like, wow. My daughter-in-law and my wife are sitting there and I'm like, does it look foggy to you? They're like, no. I'm like, huh, okay. And I walk through the living room, go into the kitchen. It's foggy there too. The whole downstairs is filled with the glory of God. All right. I'm just like, wow, you know, and I tell my wife and my daughter, because they think I'm crazy, you know. I said, this is in the Bible. And then I made a mistake, you know, because they tried to throw me in a crazy house, right? You know, I just like, you know, I said, well, you know, maybe it'll go away. And immediately when I said that, the Lord spoke so harshly to me. He said, don't ever say that again. And within a couple seconds, it was all gone. And I was so hurt. I was so sad. I was so grieved. Mark, you stupid fool. You knew it was the glory of God. And because you feared what somebody thought of you, you said something dumb. Don't ever say that again. Oh, Lord, I'm sorry. Well, anyways, later that night, this was 9:30 in the morning, my time, in Eastern United States. At that exact time, check it out yourself, the Pope renounced the throne. And what do I mean by that? I mean, he took Christianity and he changed it. He changed the times. November 1st. Go to the Catholic News Agency, all right, and you can read about it. Now, again, I'm worshiping God. I'm actually cleaning wash yourself, make yourself clean. You know what the scripture says. This is what I'm doing. This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And Shekinah glory is there. And the Lord tells me that night when I read about the Pope, and I'm marveling that this is like the exact second, okay? He says, Mark, I've anointed you prince over my people. Now, I saw the Vatican destroyed. He gave me a vision of it in 2012. I know it's coming. So when the glory of God departed, you got to understand what happened, okay? Remember the two temples of the Jews? You read Ezekiel, the glory of God departed, right? And then it was 2,300 days until the news reached Ezekiel that the temple was destroyed, Jerusalem was destroyed. Same thing happened in the days of Josephus. He tells us that it was a bright light shining in the temple. It lit up the temple like daytime, and voices were heard saying, we are departing. And the gates, huge, massive gates with massive bolts that went way down into the rock. It took like 20 guys to open it. Okay, it opened on its own accord. And so the security of the sanctuary left. They left. The security was gone. This is what happened at Rome, in Rome, on November 1st, you know. And I believe it was All Saints Day. And I didn't even know that because I'm not Catholic. I don't really know nothing about their traditions and stuff. I'm like this much, right? I found out like a month or two later that it was All Saints Day. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Cool. I believe that's what it was, All Saints Day. Someone else probably knows better than I do, but it was an important day. And why did he do that on All Saints Day? Renounce the throne. Look, I'm telling you, the only logical explanation for the glory of God to depart there and come here is a secure. Well, he anointed me head of his church in replacement of the Pope. Why? Because David always has someone sitting on throne. You understand? And Peter doesn't lack anybody either. All right? But the security of the sanctuary in Rome is gone. All right? ISIS is going to attack Rome, the Vatican. I saw it. All right? I saw it in 2012. I've been waiting for it to happen. I didn't know all this was going to happen. Now, there's no doubt, no reason why. Like, God showed me this in 2012, and then, 2023, this is what happened, what I just said. So, lots of supernatural things are happening. They're all different. Nothing has ever been the same. So when I said, Lord, teach me about your steadfast love. All right, here I am. I'm worshiping him. I'm in my bedroom, right? In this window right here, right behind me. I'm looking out at it. And I've got lots of trees. And it's dead still. Nothing's moving except for one branch on a tree that had fallen over. Okay, even though the tree was fallen over, it was a widowmaker. It was hanging like this, and I'm looking at it, and the branch is going like this, and I'm what? And I'm looking around. Nothing else is moving. God sent an angel. Do that to the branch. They held back the winds. We know this happens in the Bible. The angels hold back the winds, right? And it was getting my attention for some reason. And then when I saw it, I immediately thought of Moses, like he's going to check out why this bush isn't burning, being consumed, I mean. And so I went out there and looked around and, it's like, I couldn't make nothing of it. Well, a couple hours later, I'm on my bed worshiping some more. And in the middle of my worship, the Lord says, Mark, you remember that intense hostility you felt when you walked into the bank? It was like yesterday or the day before. I said, what? Yeah, Lord. I said, I thought that was me. I was just like, why am I feeling this hostility? He says, Mark, it wasn't you. It was hostility towards me. And I'm like, you were feeling the hostility. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm never going to forget that feeling. Because I think it's important for me to understand and feel that hostility, because I thought I was everything I could to be calm and gentle and speak lovingly and be nice because of the intense hostility, that I was feeling. It's like, well, okay. I got out there as quick as I could. And then I went to the car and I sat there. My wife was inside. And then all of a sudden, like I'm half deaf, right? And the pressure changed around my head. And in my left ear, I heard this really super loud, where I almost want to cover my ears, high-pitched noise. And what is it? First the pressure wave, right? So something changed, and then this noise. And I'm like, wow, that's just weird, man. And it went on for like a minute, and then it went away, okay? And my wife got in the car. I mentioned it to her. So this is what the Lord's reminding me of. He said, Mark, it wasn't your hostility. The person you were talking to, she has hostility. She has great hostility towards me. And I'm like, really, Lord? He's like, yeah. And he says, and I want you to go tell her that. And I'm like, really? Oh, okay. So I immediately got up because he tells me to do something. I instantly do it. I obey immediately without delay. So I get up off my bed right here and I look out this window again, and that tree had fallen over. It went the rest of the way. And I went out there and I looked at it, and it had taken a dead tree with it. So the tree that originally fell, it had all its foliage, and it took out a dead tree, and they both hit the ground. And I'm just like, my spirit is telling me there's something about this, because the branch was waving, right? When everything else was perfectly still. And it was super. I mean, it was like, it caught my attention. And I thought, well, maybe a bird landed on the branch and then took off, But no, it continued going like this, for upwards of like 30 seconds, 20, 30 seconds. I sat there and watched it. So as I'm obeying now, right? I'm in the car and I'm driving there. And then the Lord tells me, he says, Mark, he says, the tree with foliage is someone who loves me. And and this person is this branch, this is her prayer to me. She's praying fervently for this woman who's at the bank, right? She's praying fervently, and I hear her prayer. And he says, they're both about to die. And they're going to die at the same time, And I'm like, wow. So, I mean, I don't know how. And I said, well, Lord, what about the hostility? What is it about that? And he goes, oh, it's something to do with money. I'm like, really? Okay. Now, I get there and I walk in the bank and the gal's at her desk and I just kind of point at my eye to hers. I want to talk to you. And I went and sat down. When she was ready, she came and got me. And I came back and talked to her. And I'm like, ma'am, I just had a visitation from the Lord. And I got to tell you something. Would you like to hear it? Oh, yeah, sure. And so I went into it. I told her exactly what the Lord told me. And the woman's shocked. I don't have hostility for Jesus. She's like totally shocked. I told her it was about money, all this stuff, and that she was going to die. And she was going to die with someone who's been praying for her, who, is going to make it into the kingdom, And she's just in total disbelief that she has hostility. I said, I told her, you have great hostility towards Jesus. And she just didn't believe me. And she, in bewilderment, And then I just turned around and think that's all I had to say, ma'am, and I left. And I get home and I'm just thinking about it, talking to the Lord about it, like hostility, Lord. And he's like, friendship with the world is hostility towards me, towards God. I'm like, yeah. Okay. You think you can have one foot in the world and love the things of the world? You have a problem. If you think you can, like, for example, I'm even going to, my daughter, Mariah, right? Every movie she says it's just great. It's great. She loves it. What is this except for love of the world? So even simple stuff like that. Pick up your cell phone, looking at it all this time. These are things of the world you're looking at and loving and seeking after instead of worshiping God, and seeking Him, and so you got this love of the world that means more to you. And it's why they threw me into Crazy House because, I started throwing stuff out and then I lit it on fire and God was like, you're doing, He told me to do it. He said, go outside, Mark. And go to your workshop, start throwing things out. So I do it. I'm obedient. I immediately get up and do it. It's okay, Lord, whatever, And then he tells me to start burning it. Well, everybody freaked out, So, but it was to testify against the sons and daughters of the great king, he told me. Because Jesus has one little spot in your brain and the rest of it is consumed with the world. Okay, so I get back home after talking to her, and I'm like, Lord, why'd you have me do that? He said, well, Mark, you wanted me to teach you about my steadfast love. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I have a saint here that's praying, and she's about to die. She's making fervent prayer for this other person. And, and I love this other person because if this other person dies, in what she's at now, she's going to hell. And I don't want her to go to hell. So that's my steadfast love. I'm sending you. I'm answering this woman's or I say woman, but it could be a man, answering this person's prayer. And you're obedient, so I came to you. I got your attention. The angel did. He held back the winds, waved the branch. I gave you the whole revelation. I sent you because I knew you would go. Oh, steadfast love of the Lord endures forever. Okay? And then so there was another little lesson about my wife. I'm going to keep that private. But the steadfast love. And that's why this is occurring. He's showing me about his steadfast love. And so here we are coming to Cancer. So over the past couple months, I've had this, that. And I never thought much about, now, something has come to my mind about two products, And so eventually that will be a part of it, but I'm just going to make sure that's included, So this word, it drops on me. It's audible. God has never done that to me before. Again, another thing. And I'm blessing his name and glorifying him and just praising him, walking around, So my mind is on him. In this conversation, it left me like bewildered. Like I wasn't sure what just happened. It was audible voice, and I'm like, this is great. I gotta write it down. I wrote it down, and then I start thinking about it. I'm like, well, I know Satan, right? The powers of deception right now are massive, okay? So I know Satan can probably do something like that, So I hold my peace, and I'm praying about it, and it's like, I just set it aside too, I'm just like, okay, I wrote it down, Well, all of a sudden, I'm sitting on my porch the next day after that word, and I determine in my mind and my heart, I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to listen for the Lord, listen for his voice, because sometimes you got to just shut up and sit at his feet. You're always running your mouth. You can't say nothing, So sometimes you got to zip it, So, okay, pause that for, no, I'm not going to tell you that. So anyways, as I'm sitting there quietly, I see this come to my mind. Here I am, this, and it all comes together. And I start talking audibly about it. And I'm putting it together. And then the word that dropped on me, it was like a key, just unlocked my brain, and it showed me with that word, like how all these things put together would give us, the cure to cancer. And see, nobody can do it except me. All right. And I'm just saying that. Even if I told you, okay, I'll even tell you what the word is, but you're not going to know. Okay, but it's true for the flesh too. All right, but this is something much more than that. All right, but the word was, you've waited all this time. The word was, where you set your mind, there it goes. I thought it was fabulous. I wrote it down. I'm like, this is great, because it's true. If you focus your mind on the Lord, if you're, because my whole thing has been months. Lord, let my spiritual man protrude past my man of flesh so I can truly walk in the Spirit, be led by the Spirit inside of me. Of course, the Holy Ghost, but, our spirit is eternal. Our soul lives inside of our spirit. They're both eternal. When your flesh man dies, your spirit man comes out, and you either go to torment and wait the judgment, or right now, you can go to the kingdom, and you get a new body right there on the throne of God. He gives you a spiritual body. You're born again right there. So if your mind, if you're always going to movies or always got your phone and your mind's consumed with the world, right? Then that word applies. Where you set your mind, there it goes. I'm pretty sure that's exactly the quote. And so, first, understand that word for yourself and for your own relationship with God. All right? Because this mind, we have to beat it down. Right? The Lord told me, Mark, you want to know how to get your spirit man in front? And I'm like, yeah, I've been asking you for weeks here. You know? He said, this is how you do it, Mark. This is what I want you to do. I want you to fast from sundown to sundown. And then the next day, you can feed your flesh and you can eat. But here's the thing, the Lord said, you'll be spending that day fasting and prayer, and that's going to bleed over to the next day. And you're still going to pray, and worship me and all this. But your spirit man is now going to be in front of the man of the flesh, always. But the Lord showed me that after I died. Okay, I really died to my flesh in February 15th, 2024, Really, after all these things that have happened, everything, that was it. That day was it. And the next day, the 16th, he told me what all this is for. And I had been searching for it. My life, what he wants me to do. Because I knew it was something for months and months and months since he gave me a flaming sword. Since my cup overflowed way back in September, 28th, 2023. And so I've been waiting all this time. And finally, after I died, February 15th, even after all the supernatural stuff, my parents, them too, my mom, my dad's dead, but, and my family, they just think I'm crazy, and it's something the Lord told me. He said about my steadfast love, Mark, and I'll share this with you. And this was just like a day or two ago. He said, Mark, all these things that have been happening to you, you've been worshiping me. And you know what? You have seen with your eyes, okay? Your family has not. He says, now think about Moses and that generation. They saw and they perished. They were not going to heaven. They're not getting God's rest. Why? Because of unbelief. They saw with their eyes and they were disbelieving. So they perished and they weren't able to enter into heaven, when Jesus got the kingdom. This is God's steadfast love for my family, that they did not see any of this. They only heard with their ears. I testify to what I've seen and heard, and I've done it, and they have been in unbelief. And because they didn't see, they don't have to worry about, not perishing. You know what I mean? They're not going to end up like them because they saw his works for 40 years and they perished because of unbelief. But my family, they've seen me do all these things, but they haven't seen the manifestations of totally power of God in the last, whatever it's been, since September 27th, something like that. It was before that too, just a little bit. You have to read the book. You can look at it, get the details. But another thing about steadfast love, it says they didn't see. I'm saving them, because if they would have seen and then had doubt and disbelief, they would perish, Who can see a cup overflow? It's like they want me to tell them my cup didn't overflow. They're trying to, tell me I'm crazy. All these things, manifestations of power, it didn't really happen. Mark's crazy. He's bipolar. I can't deny a whole tray of food disappeared. They gave it to me when I went to the hospital, put it around right there, walked out, and I'm worshiping God. I turn around, and it's completely gone. And nobody knows what happened to it. Nobody can tell me. And I tried to investigate what happened here. It was only 2 minutes, Here I am, And see, I got bad hearing, okay? And I'm facing the wall, and I'm worshiping God, and I hear the nurse come in. So I look, she's giving me food. She set it down, a little circle tray, with a little lid on top, and a couple drinks, And then she left. And so like 2 minutes later, I roll over, and it's completely gone. And the Lord said to me, Mark, he said, you're still overflowing with my spirit. I'm taking away the food, and I'm showing you that that I'm letting you come back to normal so you can get out of here. But right before that happened, something else happened. I don't need to get into it, but it was also miraculous, So be excited, because I should be able to, this cure for cancer, I have to wait for the catalyst. God's got to drop that in my lap. And then when that happens, it should not take long, guys. I'm telling you, I don't know. I'm thinking 2 months max. Okay. The way I think I can. Now, I'm never done anything like this before, so I'm going to stumble around, but it's going to be quick. I'm thinking, by summer, we should have it, And the Lord gave it to me, not for myself. Look, you guys the world is getting this for free. Freely it came to me, freely I give. My book, free. Freely come to me, freely I give. Revelation poured out, blow your mind, like the release of Satan, right? I wrote that by faith, saying this is what the Lord told me. And then when God gave me the pen of a ready scribe after the Shekinah glory, I re-edited this book and did a second version. And as I'm writing, Revelation is coming. And I'll tell you about the release of Satan. Moses says, here another thing about Moses. Moses says, let us, essentially see rejoicing for all the days and the number of days, exact days that we've seen evil. Okay, so he's seen evil and he's looking for this day that they would have rejoicing. And I was pretty close in this book. I talked about that scripture, okay? But I had applied it not right. But as I'm writing and I'm getting to that point to edit, the revelation dropped in my brain. So from the day the fulfillment of the mystery of God occurred, which was August 26, 70 AD, the day Jerusalem burnt to the ground and Jesus Christ received the kingdom from his Father, from that day until March 5th, 2003 is X amount of days, solid, right? All you got to do is take that amount of days like Moses said. Now, that was the days of rejoicing because Jesus has the kingdom, you see, okay? And we don't see evil because Satan is bound and imprisoned. So they saw, all you do is flip that on its side, bring that number of days this way. It brings you right to the year Abraham died, and I have that in the book. And after it falls right to that day. So they put Abraham in the ground, and then the sun sets, and it's actually March 5th on the Julian day. And he was released on March 5th of the Gregorian day. But it fulfills the words of Moses, and anybody can look at this. It's indisputable. It's indisputable. There's a little calendar, calendarhome.com. You can put in, you'll find the number of days from what I just told you. Flip it on its head, right there, it takes you right. And then look at the book with the chronology done for you. It's not my chronology. It comes from, what's the name of it? It's a beautiful book. It was written in 1913, I believe. And it's put out, the name is The Romance of Biblical Chronology. It is the book if you want chronology. It takes all the scriptures that talk about on the 4th day of the 10th month, right? It takes them all and lays them all out. And the only thing they get wrong is the birth of Jesus, because they didn't have Martin Anthony's work, I think is his name, The Star That Astonished the World, who proves beyond any shadow of a doubt, because we can rewind the heavens now, that Jesus was born on September 11th, 3 BC. Okay, the Revelation 12 sign was right there. You can get Jesus's birth to the very hour, or within an hour, because that sign was right there. It's indisputable. And that was the first day of the first. It was a Feast of Trumpets. Jesus was born on the Feast of Trumpets. Okay, right when the sun set, that sign was right there, and he was born. He fulfilled the Feast of Trumpets. So that's the only part of that where they got wrong, because they didn't have that work. They weren't able to rewind the skies like Martin Anthony. That's not his name. Martin something. You guys will figure it out. The Star That Astonished the World. Okay. Everything I'm telling you, you guys can find it yourself. But the revelation about Satan's release and fulfilling the words of Moses, this testifies to the world that what I'm saying is true. It fulfills the words of Moses. Hey, tell the Jews. They should know. It'd be great. They need to know about the fulfillment of the mystery of God. What they're in right now with a war, they're making the same mistake they made back then. That Gog, Magog back then. Then after Satan's released, now we got Gog, Magog again. Okay? These things have had, Psalm 83 had already happened. No, it didn't happen. People say it didn't. They don't know what they're talking about. Right? These things are just happening again. Right? Why? Because now we see evil once again. Because the words of Moses, after the 1,000 years, Satan would be released. Well, it is after the 1,000 years and before the 2,000. It's exactly fulfilled. Now, Jesus comes 1,000 years for the order of Melchizedek and 1,000 years for his own glory. July 27th, 2023, all right, a couple months ago, was exactly 2,000 years since his ascension on a 364-day year. He ascended into heaven, 27 Lidar, all right, 30 AD. That was the day that Noah went into the ark. That was the day he came out. It was the day Jesus ascended into heaven. And as the angel said, the way you saw him go up into heaven will be the way he comes back down. And he does on 27 Lidar, 2030. The ungodly are destroyed. I seen it. All right, but the revelation's poured out. Oh, no one knows the time or day. You don't know what you're talking about. All right. When Jesus said that, he was talking about the day he would get the kingdom, and he didn't know. Until what? You read in Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. God, he's in heaven. He's ascended. God told Jesus, hey, you got 2,400 days till I give you the kingdom. Now, Jesus knew the words of Daniel. Now, if you go back to the Greek, it's 2,400 days, and these Bibles today is 23. But even that, I explained that to you, okay? So it's 2,400 days. His Father tells him. So then Jesus tells the angel tells John, and John tells the churches. Now, they didn't know when this was going to end. Still, and you couldn't until after Jerusalem was destroyed. Now you can go back. You can count 2,400 days backwards. And you know where you land? 24th day of the 9th month. The day that Zechariah says he saw the vision of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. 64 AD. 24th day of the 9th month. All the way to what it would be. It was the 3rd of Elul, 70 AD, whatever the Jewish year was. It was exactly 2,400 days. It was also the 1,335th day. Blessed are those who make it to that. And why? Because they're raised from the dead, because Jesus Christ begins to reign. All right? The mystery of God is fulfilled, but it was all sealed up. John, he got the 7th thunder sounded, and what'd they say? Seal it up. Well, Daniel told you what would be sealed up at the fulfillment of the mystery of God on that day, didn't he? Yes, he did. The transgressions of the people, the vision, which was about the fulfillment of the mystery of God, and the prophet, the one who announced it. Those 3 things, that's what happened when the 7th thunder sounded, and it was sealed up. Okay? And why was the fulfillment of the mystery of God, sealed up? So you would live by faith. You couldn't even get the Old Testament after the War of the Jews. Until the printing press, 1600, God just wanted you to live free. Trust and hope in him for eternal salvation. It's the most beautiful thing. It's so simple. But because evil lawlessness is increased and all this stuff, God is a gracious God, and he takes those rules, law and prophets, posts them to the refrigerator for disobedient children so they know, because an obedient child don't need daddy to tell them the rules of acceptable behavior. And this is what they were after the 70 AD, the Christians growing up, hey, okay, if they had access to one of Paul's letters, great. But if not, they just live free. They just live free for Jesus. This 2030 will be exactly 2,000 years since Jesus ascended into heaven, according to the 365.2422 year we use just for the earth going around. You see, the 364 is not just the earth going around, but all the planets. And it perfect justice, 364. So, when Enoch talks about the 364, that's true. He tells you it's the sun and stars, and they all make up the true year, It's not just the earth going around. God's the creator. He's the one, you know, it's all the planets. This is what the menorah symbolizes, all the lights and planets. And David knew this. I saw the Dead Sea Scrolls. David wrote one psalm for each day of the year, 364, you know. So July 27th, 2023, what this right now is the 2000th year since Jesus ascended into heaven, according to the 364 day. All right, so we're in the 2000th year right now. It's only March 2nd, 2024. We haven't, made it completely the 2000th year, according to 364. Well, 2030 is 2,000 years according to the reign of the sun. The S-O-N and the S-U-N. Okay? And 27 Lyar is the day of judgment. You don't have to believe me. I don't care. I'm going to be gone anyways. And you all going to be worshiping Muhammad bin Salman. And you're not even going to, you're going to want to. Because the chip you get in the brain or right here, it takes away your will, your choice. All right? Even if you cut someone's hand off, they're going to go run back to get the chip because the peace. All right? It gives you a false peace. And when the saints are taken, the peace that you don't even realize you have right now is gone. Plus, at that moment, after we're taken, the United States gets nuked on the east and west coast. All right, I'm just telling you that. If you live if you live in New York or Miami or Washington or next to Camp David or Portland or Seattle or San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, on the day we're taken, you're going to be incinerated. But that's just the start. That's just the start. The whole world's in chaos, Mohammed bin Salman comes out and he says, they're taken because they're disobedient. Aliens took them because they're disobedient, That's what he says. And you idiots think you just accept it, You just go along with Satan, I mean, you fools are going to be bowing down. Don't you understand what's going on here? Don't you understand? You wicked, you evil men, you Christians who think you're screwing around right now. Your hearts are not wholly devoted to God. I'm telling you, the people he's coming for are the people who are perfect. Because he makes up the exact... God takes out of mortal creation the perfect image of his son through us. All right, we build up the full measure and stature of Christ. All right. And so, this is what's happening right now. God's pouring out his spirit right now. Little children. I seen some little kids the other day on YouTube. Mommy, I saw Jesus in heaven. The angel blew this loud trumpet. I could feel it. Everybody heard it, And then everybody shot up who were Christians into heaven, went to be with Jesus. Let me tell you what, the gate's shut. We have a big celebration, All our deeds, our good deeds, is the only thing to follow us. And you know what happens to those good deeds as we do them if we belong to Jesus? God transforms them into gold or silver or bronze or wood, hay, stubble, clay, whatever, according to your deeds deserve, precious stones, all right? And this is what's used to build your house. And I'm telling you, they're putting the roof on and the return of Jesus is imminent. But because of his steadfast love, he's going to give the world the cure to cancer. And it's very, very easy cure. It's very simple. It's nothing crazy. All right. But we're going to have it by this summer. And I'm going to make sure that everybody gets it for free. Everybody knows. Look, it's God's gift. You understand? Because Satan is doing something different. All right. And he's going to destroy real quick here. Upwards of just 30 million people just in the United States because of what these evil men are doing, all sitting around a table, all right, taking obesity, and they're going to weaponize it. Your blood pressure medicine, your heart medicine, whatever they give you to keep the stuff out of the veins. What are the statins? All these things, they're taking it, they're building it, right? They're using AI. Woo. They're building a weapon. We see you. Nothing's hidden from the Spirit of the Lord. You people, you understand me? What you're doing in secret right now, okay? It's not secret. I know what you're doing because my eyes see it. You understand? Because nothing's hidden from God. And he tells his saints and he warns them, you know? This is God's response to that, the cure for cancer. Because of the great darkness, now he's going to give us the cure. It's his steadfast love endures forever. That's why he gave me the cure. That's why, no, he didn't give it to me. He told me how to get it. And I know how to get it. And I've got the key. Okay? And no one else has the key. I got the key. He made me prince of the church. And I'm giving it to you for free. And I'm going to make sure it gets done. All right? And this is not a joke. This is not some crazy man. All right? No. It's the power and love of God who does these things because of his steadfast love. It endures forever. Look, saints, shape up or you are going to get left. And then you're going to be out for blood on all these pastors that have been feeding you a bunch of garbage. But you know what? God's going to take care of them. A lot of them are just going to drop dead right there. The angel of the Lord's going to strike them down right when they're preaching. Right when they're preaching. And you saints need to know it's God is sent an angel and off them. All right? That's in the Bible. You heard about it. This is nothing new that that hasn't happened before. But God is refining people, pouring out his spirit, all sorts of dreams and visions. They're all saying the same thing. Different angles. All right, just like the fulfillment of the mystery of God, one prophet saw it this way, one this way, one this way, one this way. All right, the same thing with the saints. We see in part. You understand? We hear in part, we see in part, we prophesy in part, right? Everything's in part until, we get the perfect, that we're in heaven, Hey, the video is an hour now. I hope I've held your attention. All right. And it's the steadfast love of the Lord. And this will be a sign to you. Okay. Very near Passover. Yeah, I would have seen say a couple of days after. right around that time frame. Watch the midnight hour in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The zombies. They're all, you know what I'm talking about. Power of God's going to come down, heal, save. When you see this, you'll know what I'm saying is true. You'll know that everything about the release of Satan, all this stuff is true. Everything in my life that you read about in the book I've just finished, you're going to understand it's all true. I don't lie. I'm not in the habit. It's not my custom to lie. Do you understand? Ask my children. They're all grown up with children now. Do I lie about earthly matters? No. Never. I don't lie. Okay? Why would I lie about spiritual things? Liars don't get into the kingdom of heaven. All right? Now, I've had, when I saw that revival wave crashing down, hey, I thought, man, right now, well, you know what? I'm learning. It was very new. Timing, spiritual timing, all this stuff. To me, it was like the wave's getting ready to hit me. It's like, it's like, it's right now. But it's, the Lord's taught me. He's taught me. So, yeah, I tend to talk about dates because this book is full of dates, So back to the 2,400 days, last point, God showed John, right? Eventually it trickled down to John. John showed the churches. Jesus just did the same thing. The Father said to the Son, you got 2,400 days until you give the kingdom back to me. Okay? When God becomes all in all and the kingdom of darkness is thrown into hell with Satan and death is destroyed forever. The two kingdoms forever separated. This is true judgment. These two kingdoms will always be apart. Torture, horror, everything, okay? Torment, forever and ever and ever. You know what? You people who live today, this the knowledge of the glory of God is going to cover the earth. Wow, pressure wave. Wow, cool. Okay, the knowledge of the glory of God is going to cover the earth before the end. And look, saints, we don't get taken until the Vatican's destroyed. I've seen it. But that's the sign that we need to look for. That his return is imminent. Okay, but it's not going to happen until the prince who sits on the throne, until Rome is destroyed. Okay, by ISIS. Now, see, I just told ISIS the protection from the Vatican's gone, and now they're not even get the planet. Okay, you understand what's happening here? And then the trumpet will be blown, and when it is, we're gone. Satan, oh, he's excited, man. He flips the switch, plunges the world into darkness, and your lives as you know it are done. You understand me? You're done. Horror until 2030. Okay? You do not want to be here. You understand me? You do not want to be here. Anyways, enjoy the steadfast love of the Lord while he can be found. Okay? Because in the rush of great waters, you're not going to find him. At his latter end, he makes people turn their back. It's in the Psalms. Go look it up. Anyways, I think I'm going to go to bed.